So guys, I know this looks like a humble noodle dish, but can I say the flavors, the basil, the chili, the garlic, the whole thing comes together and it is just like a bowl of heaven. This is one recipe you guys just have to make. There are a couple of key ingredients that make this dish what it is, and number one is the spicy element. So I'm going to use some chilies here, I'm going to use some hot ones, and it really, to me, is one of the defining characters of this dish. It's called drunken noodles, Pat Kim Mao. And you know, there are various stories about why it's called drunken noodles. You know, the guy was drunk that made it, or he was hungover when he was eating it. But anyway, I like to think that it's a really good hangover cure. And for me, hangover cures mean spicy chilies. Okay, so we're going with a few different chilies here. Use whatever chilies you've got in your area that are spicy. I've got a mixture of some local Thai chilies here, so I want some of those. And I want some garlic, a fair bit of garlic. Should be garlicky and spicy and herby. That's what this dish is all about. Okay, now whenever I'm starting things off in a mortar and pestle, I always just add a little pinch of salt. That kind of abrasion helps to start breaking down the fibers. Now just be careful here because hangover and chili in the eye do not mix. Luckily I have glasses, so I'm good, but you guys watch out. Now you're just looking for a rough paste, no need to go all fine dining here, and that's what we're looking for. The next key ingredient is basil. Now in Thailand we use what's called bai grapao, and grapao is also known as holy basil or hot basil outside of Thailand. And you can tell you've got the holy basil by looking at the leaves. You've got a little bit of a jagged edge, the leaves are a little bit furry, and you've got a green furry stem. Now this basil has the most amazing flavor. It has this herbal hotness to it. It's really hard to describe, but it's really beautiful. If you can find it or grow it, please do, you will love it. Now the alternative here is to use Thai basil or regular Italian basil. Don't be put off by the basil, guys. It is great to have the holy basil, but I don't want you missing out on this dish. So the next thing we need to do is talk about our pork. Okay, so I'm using pork belly today for a couple of reasons. One is it's just really tasty. And I know that a lot of times when you're cooking pork belly, you're usually slow braising it. But do you know cooking it really fast and quick in a wok as well keeps the pork belly really tender. You don't have to slow braise a pork belly. So if you get your pork belly and it's got a little bit of skin on it, so I'm just cutting off a portion and I can see there's a bit of skin there. So to take that skin off, I slice in here. And then I'm just going to hold my knife steady, but wiggle the pork. And then you'll find that that skin comes off. And I just want some really nice thin slices of this pork belly. And I'm starting to come up against a little bit of fat here. Now, that is a good thing because the other reason I wanted to use pork belly is so that I can actually use the fat instead of using oil. So I'm going to save this pork fat and I'm going to render that down to start my noodles. And that's actually a little street vendor trick that I've learned since living in Bangkok. I just want to sizzle those pieces of pork fat so they release all that really good juicy stuff that we're going to keep to fry our noodles in. So one last thing before we get started in our wok, and we've got to talk about noodles. So fresh rice noodles are typically the noodles that you find for this dish. Now I know they're a little hard to find in regular supermarkets, so I do have a recipe on my YouTube channel for making these at home, homemade rice noodles, and it's pretty simple. If not, you could use like a large dried rice stick noodle, but these are really worth making or seeking out from your Asian grocer. Now I've got a good sort of couple of tablespoons there of pork fat, so I'm going to take those pieces out, and it's time for everything to get smoky and spicy and very chili crazy. That chili and the garlic already is just smelling amazing. Now in with my pork. Whew, this is really spicy. Okay, that pork is just about done, so I'm going to add in some greens. I've just got some young Chinese kale, but you can use whatever greens you've got at home. Whoa, these are going to be good. chili spice. Whoa. Okay, now the rice noodles, and then oyster sauce, fish sauce, a little bit of dark soy for colour, and then a little bit of sugar. Wow, look at that colour, that is amazing. Now you don't want this dish to be drowning in sauce. You really should only have the barest minimum to sort of just cover all those noodles and the pork. Now everything is looking amazing. The final key ingredient, our basil. Just going to tip that in. At this point you can turn the heat off and just toss that through. All right, and it's just time to serve up. All I need is a big bowl, a nice comfy couch, and my spicy noodles.